Hey, welcome back. It's time for an exciting edition of Let's Make Something Out of Nothing. Apologize for the background noise. I do have the air conditioner running. It's like 95 degrees and 188% humidity. I think the heat index is like 115 or 116 degrees. Often dealing with these project cars, usually rollers. Hard to get them in the shop. I can get them out easy, getting them on the lift, getting them in the shop and on the lift sometimes is a difficult task. Just so happens, and I'll show you in a minute, I've got a 6x6 post. It's not centered on the lift, but it's within the ramps to where I think it'll work well. And if you'll see here, I've got these scrap pieces of framework here that came with the lift, with the Halo lift when I bought it. These were holding the two pairs of the uprights together. They have those bolted to this. So I usually don't throw anything away. Here's a prime example of why. I've got a piece of receiver hitch tubing that I've had for a couple of years sitting around, and then these two pieces of scrap, and then I've got this 12,000 pound Harbor Freight Badland winch here. Didn't see the use. I know I could get even a 1,500 pounder, 3,500 pounder would pull a car in no problem. Since you're just, it's not like you're lifting the static dead weight of the vehicle. You're just moving the rolling portion of it. But I didn't really see the need to buy another winch, especially when I'm not going to leave it connected all the time. It'd just be in the way. I was trying to think of a way to do this without drilling the floor, putting some kind of bolts and a frame in and whatnot. And this came to mind because you'll see here, I've got this winch mounted on a receiver hitch plate. I can slide it into the back of the truck and pin it in. I can slide it into my car hauler trailer. I've got a receiver tube just like this mounted on the deck of it to where this winch sits flat on the floor. I've went several vehicles up on there with that. So today's project, going to make just a simple framework to bolt to this 6x6 with just one pin, and then pin the receiver hitch together, and you're ready to go. You can unpin it and put it away. So stick with me and I'll show you what I've got in mind. So I'm not sure how well you can see, but you can see that post there where that outlet is above it. You can see that post is inboard of this outside runway just enough that I think it can work. And what I want to do is I just want to go down here and just run a couple rails out. I have to measure and see how high. I just want to make sure the cable clears the runways. And I'll just make it to where it just single pin through here. I'll reinforce it with a plate on each side. So the pin's not pulling against the wood itself. It's got gussets on each side to pull against. And we'll be able to pin it in quickly and easily and be able to remove it just as easy. For this piece, we're going to go ahead and cut this out with our plasma cutter. Got this piece of flat plate. It's 12 inches between the bolt holes that already exist. So I'm going to cut it on both ends, and we're going to split it down the middle, and that's what we're going to use to make our gussets on each side of our post. I'm going to attempt to do this free-handed. We'll see how it goes. Between my poor eyesight and my shaky hands, I am not afraid to admit that I can't see anything. And that was a horrible, horrible cut. So I'm going to use a straight edge this time. Put a glove on so I don't completely cook my hand. Check my gap here. Here. Looks pretty good. We'll go with that. Much better. Razor thin. Repeat the same thing on this side. Those are plates for our gussets. Now, I don't care about these next cuts if they're ugly or not. I want to utilize this piece of angle right here, section in here that's not tied to anything else, for I guess the arms, if you'd call them, for lack of a better term. So I'm just going to cut them at each end, and then we'll final cut them on the bandsaw for whatever length we need to make it work out the way we're trying to make it work. This guy's a genius, using a piece of 6x6 to make sure the arms are spaced out well enough to slide over the post. Even thought to put a gusset on the side just to make sure I had a little bit extra wiggle room. Never crossed my mind that, hey, dummy, you're going to use 2 gussets, so you need more space than 2, never mind 1. What an idiot. So that's where we're at. It's stuck together. It's not beautiful. It doesn't have to be. It's just a tool. It's not a beauty project. So pretty tickled with that. Go ahead and get our receiver tube and figure out how we're going to mount that. So here it is, still plenty hot. Obviously we're not going to enter this into any kind of competition, but it's plenty overkill for what it is. Like I said, it probably won't really have any more than, 1,000 pounds at most on it. Straight line pull, I'd say it'd be probably a lot less than that, but you can see we've got plenty of weld penetration in there in the tube on both sides and then on the underside as well. So I think just got to figure out what I'm going to do for height wise to make sure we get it where we want it and put something underneath it for that, and then we'll move on to figure out how we're going to attach it to the post. Well, I think we can all agree that it is not pretty, but it is effective. Pins in through the post, and the bolt is a little over halfway back on the post, and all the pulling force always will be towards the front of the post, so a little extra meat in the front. I will paint that frame. Obviously it's pretty ugly right now. I was going to put legs on it, kind of make it stand on the front, but it is going to have some movement. You can take most of that out if you tighten down that bolt where it mounts to the post. But anytime it's got a little bit of a side pull, it's going to have some motion to it. Didn't really want a metal base sliding around the floor. I've always got plenty of these 6x6s handy, and so I just made it come out to where 2 6x6s was the right height. That's why I drilled the hole where I drilled it. I have to make this come out high enough so it'll clear those wheel stops, tire stops at the back of the lift. Of course, you could unbolt them if you had a need to, but I wanted to make sure my typical situation that my cable will clear that stopper right there. So don't have this pinned in, obviously. I just slid it in there to make sure everything fit. So the weight of I know people probably wondered why I put that receiver so far back on that frame. I was wanting the weight of the winch to ride on this frame, which it does. And so that's why I put that receiver so far back, and then why I'm bracing it up front as well. So I'll get that painted. Oh, some of you may have noticed early on, right? If you remember when I was fabbing this up, when I was starting, I used a 6x6 for a spacer to make sure I had the width right, and I slid one of the shims in, one of the gussets I was going to put on the post. I thought, well, that'll give me half on each side if I use one. I wasn't thinking about the fact that I wasn't just making sure I had enough clearance for the post. I needed to make sure I had room for the 2 gussets. You big dummy! So I should have had something more than the 2 gussets for a spacer, just a bit more than the 2 gussets instead of just using one. So obviously I have no room for the gussets to slide in between here. I don't think that'll be a problem if I was using it multiple times a week or daily. I would probably concern myself with it, and if I see any, if the hole starts to kind of wear out a little bit, then I'll back up and punt and spread the arms out on it enough to get some gussets in there, but I think it'll be fine the way it is for now. Got my mess all cleaned up, this thing painted. There's the final product, which says not a beauty queen, but definitely going to work for its intended purpose. So all right, that'll wrap us up for this one. Go ahead and click the like button if you like this project. Go ahead and subscribe if you want to see what's coming next. I hope the next video will be focusing on demonstrating that halo lift, and we'll be using this device here to mount the winch up, pull the car back on the lift once we've shown you the lift, all its features and measurements and all those things. So I appreciate you sticking with me, and we'll see you in the next one.